Shom joins us live from Kiev at the moment. Vishnu, you're back in Kiev, but you've travelled through some of the most devastated regions. What have you seen?
Rishika, I've actually travelled through the worst hit areas in the north of Kiev, the areas where the Russians have vacated. This is where international investigations into allegations of Russian war crimes continue. I was in the town of Borodyanka, which has essentially been razed to the ground, a large number of buildings. I spoke to people, and we'll be playing these out tonight on Left, Right and Centre at 9 p.m. Women, for example, who've seen absolute hell. Women who've spoken to others who say that they've been raped by Russian soldiers. Others, comments by local people saying that they've seen cars with the sign "children" written on them being targeted by Russian soldiers. Others saying how difficult it was to get food and water when there was no food available. Even others who said that they know their neighbors and others who've been killed in the city of Bucha, in the city of Borodyanka, as a result of the violence which actually took place. Entire building blocks have been obliterated. It's a tremendously sad story. But I also did meet the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, who I actually met in Borodyanka. He was, the primary international body looking at these allegations of war crimes, and he is the chief judge. And he decided to come here himself to get a first-hand idea of what exactly was the ground reality, not just in Borodyanka but in other areas as well. Several other members of the International Criminal Court have been deployed over here, but for the prosecutor, in other words, the key person, the judge himself, to actually be over here gives you an idea of how seriously international agencies and international courts of justice are looking at the Russian allegation, looking at the Ukrainian allegations, with very clear evidence actually existing on. As I mentioned, we've been speaking to people as well independently of these Russian atrocities. So let's just take a look at some of those reports from Borodyanka. Well, we are on the highway from Kiev to Borodyanka. Borodyanka is one of the areas which has been worst hit by the devastation. Now, if you look at the highways over here, you'd be asking the question, where is this devastation? I don't see anything. And what we try and explain to you as we carry on in the direction of Borodyanka is that this landscape changes very dramatically. From these immaculate highways, you will come across areas with unbelievable destruction. That's because the Russians couldn't quite get to where we are now, but just about 10 odd kilometers away are areas where they did manage to get in, where massive tank battles were fought, where houses were destroyed, factories destroyed, and fighting took place in civilian areas. Ultimately, the Russians withdrew from those areas. So what we're going to show you next is signs of that devastation, and then we carry on in the direction of Borodyanka. So we are now just about to enter Borodyanka. This is one of the areas which has been worst hit by the Russian shelling. In fact, you'll be able to see absolute devastation. What the Russians were doing, what the Ukrainians in fact were doing throughout, is preventing Russian access to many of these areas. So as you can see, this is a bridge which was destroyed. Is somehow or the other managing to get down. We've got an SUV with us, and we are now proceeding in the direction of Borodyanka. Absolute devastation, and it's a fairly steep slope that we need to get on top of in order to get to Borodyanka. If we weren't able to navigate this particular stretch, then it would be really difficult to get to many of the areas. But a lot of cars are now trying this, and in the distance is the town of Borodyanka, and as we get there, we'd be able to show you the extent of the devastation in this area, and we'll also try and speak to people on the ground. Well, we are now in the town of Borodyanka. As you can see, there is widespread destruction all around. So we are actually going to go to one of the areas where we are told it's relatively safe to get to, because the worry is of landmines and things like that in this area. This is a housing complex. It's an apartment complex which has been completely destroyed by the Russians. And as we've been saying repeatedly, as they retreated, they planted landmines which have slowly been diffused by and large by the Ukrainians. But the reason I actually stopped over here is, Ashok, can you focus on that bear? This is obviously where a child once stayed. and it's a vivid sort of reminder of what actually took place over here and the civilian loss of lives which took place. You can come up over here a little bit more. As you can see over here, it's bizarre. It's just in the middle of nowhere. This building, which has been completely obliterated, there's this giant teddy bear of a child. This used to be the home, presumably, of a child at some stage. And this is what war does. We've seen it all over the world, and we are seeing it now first hand here in Borodyanka. The complete destruction of lives, of families, of homes. This used to be where a child used to once stay. There's a broken cell phone over here as well. There's the carcass. Ashok, will you come closer? There's the carcass of a cat. There's a carcass of a cat over here. There's a teddy bear, there's an umbrella, there's a broken cell phone over here. There's a bag of some sort with some devices. There's a cell phone battery over here. And this is just such a frightening reminder of what war does and what it leaves. Out of nowhere, this giant teddy bear is left. Just focus up here, Ashok, and you can see this building. And you know, Ashok, you can focus on both sides. The point is, this entire area in between has been destroyed. This area in between has been completely destroyed, as you can see. It's unbelievable what one comes across. Could you tell us what brings you to Borodyanka specifically amid so many reports of Russian atrocities?
I think probably the same thing that's brought you here.
Right.
It's the reports that crimes within the court's jurisdiction, the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court, may have been committed. I sent a team of investigators here yesterday. We're working also, I'm being shown around by the prosecutors of Ukraine,
right,
and the investigators here. So I want to have my own impression of some of the allegations here in Borodyanka. We went to other towns yesterday as well, and we'll keep on doing our job to make sure we get to the truth.
And how long is the process going to take?
The process will take as long as it needs, but we're trying to deploy focused investigations. We have forensic crime scene officers, we have investigators, analysts and lawyers, and we have to deal with some focus with some urgency so we can get to the truth. But as I said yesterday, there's allegations of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and crimes within the jurisdiction of the court throughout of Ukraine,
right,
from Mariupol to, of course, where we're standing today.
Right.
And we need to conduct investigation so we don't just rely upon rumour,
right,
and speculation,
right,
but can make sure that we get to the truth, and whatever we receive we have to scrutinise it,
yes,
and check it's authentic, it's reliable, it's
right,
not fake, and it's truthful. And we do that also by conducting our own investigations,
mm-hmm,
as well as subjecting whatever we receive to proper independent scrutiny.
And on the basis of what you've seen so far, are you in a position to make any conclusions?
I'm in the position to keep investigating.
Right.
And as I said yesterday, we're here for a reason. We made determinations that there's reasonable grounds to believe that crimes within the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court have been committed. Ukraine filed 2 declarations in 2014 and 15 accepting the jurisdiction of the court. It's their territory, and so we are investigating crimes of this magnitude to see whether or not they've been committed, if so, who's responsible, and then we will put proper cases, if necessary, before the judges, and they'll make determinations.
Could there be a tribunal eventually looking at these allegations if they're borne out to be very serious?
Well, we have one. It's called the International Criminal Court.
Right, no, but in terms of specifically targeting Russia with this particular set of allegations.
I'm not targeting any country. I'm looking at crimes. All parties to a conflict, whether Ukrainians, whether they're Russians, have responsibilities to comply with the laws and customs of war. They have an obligation to comply with their own statute obligations because Ukraine has accepted the jurisdiction.
Right.
And we will look with an open mind, looking at the investigations, conducting investigations, and we will make determinations based upon evidence. And that's what's required by independent investigators, independent prosecutors, and let the dice fall where they may. I mean, we have to do our job, and at the end we will have hopefully a better picture of what took place and who, if anybody, is responsible.